Hey, this is Alex Yoder with Pro Tip Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. And today I'm talking with my good friend, Rob Lind with the Cllc. And Rob, thank you so much for being here today. I really want to just dive right into this and answer, or have you answer two very pressing questions about the Cllc so we can get the word out to the landlord community in Colorado. So I'm going to start with my first question.
Sounds good.
What is the Cllc?
Well, I think what we need to start with, Alex, is where did it come from and where did it start? And so it started by the Colorado Association of NARPM. So we looked at forming a state chapter of the National Association of Residential Property Managers, NARPM. And it really started out of the Colorado Springs chapter, looking for a state chapter that we could have legislative voice. And as that was looked into being formatted, and we had chapters, all the chapters were represented on the executive board. We started looking closely at what we needed to do and where we needed to go. And we realized that we really needed to be more inclusive, because the landlord issues in Colorado are not just for NARPM members. They're not just for professional property managers. They're for the landlords of single family residents and small multifamily residents. And if we don't include them, we're missing a large voice. I've heard the statistic of 70–80% of single family rentals in the state of Colorado are managed by their owners. So as professional property managers, if we created a legislative voice and we didn't talk to them, that's not fair. So we really felt like we needed to create something that was more inclusive, and the executive board came up with the idea of going out and forming a new nonprofit called the Colorado Landlord Legislative Coalition. And that's what we've done. And it's been a tough road. We've had some very large legislative issues in the past few years, and we feel it's vital that we have a voice going forward.
I feel like when I do these videos once a week, it's always something new. There's something new that's targeting the landlords. And so can you talk about what the Cllc is looking to accomplish that wasn't already being accomplished for single family and small multifamily landlords at the state?
Well, yeah, the biggest thing that we're pushing, we're going to be an advocacy for fairness and good legislation. And in order to do that, we need to have a voice, and that voice is actually a lobbyist. We need to have a lobbyist representing the needs and the interests of property managers and small landlords and landlords who are managing their properties themselves. And that voice needs to be heard by the legislators. We need to educate the legislators how the legislation that they're putting in place affects not only the landlord, but the tenant. Because if they put a cost on a landlord, that cost is passed to the tenant. And a lot of people don't understand this process, that it is like any other business. And in order to have that business viable and strong, we need a voice and we need to be heard. The term that I've heard a lot is a seat at the table. And by creating a legislative coalition and hiring a lobbyist to fight for fair legislation for both the landlord and the tenant, we can have that seat. So that is the strength. That's what we're looking for, is to have that lobbyist go, and we actually have one. William Much is now on our payroll. We have got the chapters of the Colorado chapters of NARPM are stepping up and helping fund that, but we have a long way to go. We need to have individuals, both companies and private owners, help along this fight.
Yeah, actually, when you said kind of lobbyists and kind of having a seat at the table, something that really jumps out to me is at moments where I've testified and where these bill sponsors that we have testified against have said to us as a group, do you have a lobbyist? Because they don't want to talk to 100 different people with 100 different opinions, right? They want to talk to a point of contact for the industry. And that's what you and that's what the Cllc are looking to create, it sounds like.
Exactly. And what we've done is we have more, we're expanding out. We have an advisory council where people will advise us, and we can pull all of that information together. Then we have one solid voice. We give that opinion, desire, the fairness. We have attorneys involved. to make sure that what we're representing is fair for all. And that message goes to the lobbyists, it goes to William, and then William presents that at the table and say, hey, we have X number of people, we have X number of members, we have X number of properties that we're representing, and we need to make sure that this is good for everybody.
Yeah, I think something else before we finish up here that I wanted to touch on too was sort of the conversation about what was already happening versus what we need. Because yes, there was somewhat of a voice with the apartment association, for example, and there was somewhat of a voice occasionally with the division of realtors, but their interests are not always the same as one human who owns one house, right? Which is a lot of what we represent as property managers. So you have the voice of large corporate entities who are really afraid of one thing, but who aren't afraid of other little things that could really hurt the single family or property owner, again, who has just the one or maybe the two houses. And so I mean, obviously we are behind you because we know that this is so incredibly important and that voice needs to be at the Capitol. And also I know that you and the board are putting together basically a link and the website and everything information so that we can start getting donations. And for those who are watching this video, we will have that information available on the website, the Cllc website, so that you can contribute and become a member.
That's correct. And currently we have people participating throughout the state. We're on the Western Slope, we're in downtown Denver, we're in Grand Junction, Rifle, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs. So we have people throughout the state that are actively involved, and we are ready to step forward. And we want to work with the apartment association, but and you mentioned them directly, and they've been very, very good to us. But the owner, as you said, of a 200-unit complex does not have the same interest as an owner who has 3 rentals, and that is their future retirement. Right. Some of the legislation has hurt small landlords tremendously, and we need to make sure that that voice is heard and those people are protected.
I love hearing that it's coming from all over. It's not just one city that's running this thing. There are voices from literally every corner of our state, and it's encouraging to see people come together. And so all of us landlords, certainly all of us with the Colorado Springs Landlord Forum, are super, super grateful for all that you as the president of the Cllc have done so far, and the board members as a whole. And we're really encouraged to see this come together, and we will support you for sure.
We appreciate your time. And again, you had already mentioned it, but if you can jump on the Colorado Landlord Legislation webpage, the Cllc, and you can become a member. There's different levels of membership. We are all looking to find and educate and make good legislation that is supportive of both landlords and tenants. It's vital that we have everybody's voice, and please jump on and join, and we can get you involved, and you can see what the good that William is doing at the state.
Awesome. All right, Rob, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex.
Yep.